I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And let's do, I'll have to ask you to do, can we do a quick roll call so we can get that?
Oh, sure.
I guess I can do that.
Chair Del Corso.
Present?
Supervisor Strauss is not present. Supervisor Hartle.
Present.
Supervisor Piper.
Present.
And Supervisor Beck.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and do the opening announcements. Denise?
Oh, so it's the typical opening announcements of the fact that we are being recorded live on CNET and on their YouTube channel. Anybody who signed up for the meeting through our link for Zoom will receive an email with a copy of this recording. We're always looking for volunteers, especially as we come towards the end of the year. We're looking for anybody who's willing to participate in any type of authority, board, or commission. If you're interested, please give me a call or send me an email. And last but not least, we're always looking for people to put their email in for updates for anything. We send out agendas. We send out different notifications through our listserv. If you've signed up in the past, we ask that you go to our website and click the Contact Us button. If you did not receive tonight's agenda or any of the other agendas, you're not on our listserv. So please go ahead and do that.
Excellent, thank you. At this time, we will open for any citizens' comments on any items which are not already on the agenda this evening. Did you receive anything ahead of time?
Nothing ahead of time.
I'm the public, right?
Yeah, you are the public.
I have
Okay. All right, we'll move along then for the approval of the agenda this evening. There's just a couple items, really, just to review the draft agenda. Review the draft 2022 budget. That is the only item for this evening. Everybody okay with that? I move that we approve the agenda for this evening.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving right into the meat of the meeting. Draft agenda. Denise, help us out.
Okay, a couple of items. Underneath your agenda, underneath your packets, is a confidential portion of pay increases. So I ask that you either return that to me afterwards, or if you'd like to retain it, please remember that that is confidential. How we're going to do this year is I've created in your packets summary budgets with each fund. There's a table of contents as well. Then those tabs that you see correspond to the way that you saw it last year, and there's a narrative that's included. So this year you'll have, if you pull up the general fund, you can follow that way, and any of the line items have explanations at the top to further give you guidance as to what that line item is. We're going to look at the summary budget, but you're welcome to follow in the format of the detailed budget in the back as well. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So I'm going to give you just a basic summary of what we're looking at this year, which is our general fund budget that I'm going to present this evening. We're going to review that. That is going to have a zero net income. I have a balanced budget to present to you for this upcoming year. Bless you. For state highway liquid fuels, we will have a negative net income, or we'll have a net loss. The idea behind this is we will be using all state highway liquid fuels for our 2 road projects that we talked about as we planned our 5-year road plan. We did apply for a county grant, but if we do not receive it, we can use all of liquid fuels to do the road projects this coming year. So all that will change is if we do receive the grant, there'll be more money for next year's projects. For open space, it kind of is what it is. We do have a net income for that. We'll review that. For the park fund, we will have a whopping 895 net income. And for capital equipment, we're gonna have a small negative balance. We'll use the fund balance to help offset that loss. It's only $1,500, but there is the truck payment in there, and we'll look at buying a power washer. For our capital building fund, we're going to deplete that and kind of reallocate that in coming years. That's only a whopping $2,500. That will go towards the move back here towards municipal lane. Fire protection, we'll have a small net income. We'll review that. And that's it. That's the whole budget for the year. So we're going to start with the general fund and go through item by item. I'm going to go kind of fast because I honestly think we can get through the entire thing this evening based on if we have questions
Yeah.
or if not.
Alright.
So please stop me if you have a question. Okay. So starting out, we're going to start with our current taxes and delinquent taxes, all of the taxes. So what this first one, this real estate, is based off of a 96% collection rate and an assumed real estate value of $80,069,110 at 4.67 mils. That is, we've had a pretty good collection rate this year. So we're assuming that, and that is not the final number. This actually might be a little bit higher because the county hasn't come out with their final real estate assessed value for the year. So this assumes a 1% increase over last year, but we don't have final numbers because we're a little early in our budgeting process. The delinquent, that's based off of what we received from the from the Center County Tax Bureau. Realty transfer tax, anytime you buy or sell real estate, 2% goes towards this tax, 1% for the buyer, 1% for the seller. We receive 0.5% minus any commission for collecting it. The earned income tax, that is, we expect a small increase this year, actually. What we saw is we had budgeted for a decrease in 2020 due to the fact that people were leaving their jobs. People are going back to work, so we're expecting an increase in that now. Local services tax, this is $10 for any resident working resident within Halfmoon Township. The licenses, cable franchise fee, that is 5% of any gross revenues received from anybody who subscribes to Comcast as a resident of the township. Court magistrate and state police fines, those are anything enforced by the state police, whether it's on the state level or at the local level. Interest hasn't been great. So that's just a rough summary of what we think we'll get. Rent of building, this decreased this year. Coming up because we figured with moving back here there'll be construction in this building going on, so we won't want to rent anytime there's construction happening. And then once we move back into this building, there's going to be a little period where there's adjustment, so we expect that's probably going to decrease. American Rescue Funds, that is the second tranche of our payments. We'll be receiving that next year. We received that amount this year. PERTA is the Public Utility Real Estate Tax Act. That stays pretty consistent. It's anything that, it's payment for the public utilities in Halfmoon Township. That isn't much. The municipal pension state aid, that is any of the contributions received from the state to help support the pension contributions. Foreign fire relief, that's an in and out account that has a matching expense account. We're kind of the conduit for that. Marcellus shale fee, that is Act 13 gas impact fees that we get from the Commonwealth. I expect that to go down as we see a transition to more energy efficiency and electric and solar, clean energy. Game commission lands, that is what we receive from the state in lieu of taxes for state game lands.
You have to pay taxes on the land?
We receive,
The game commission pays taxes on the land in the municipality. which is actually a separate entity.
Yeah, yeah. I just find that
thank
odd.
you.
It says
I
in
never
lieu
knew
of
that.
tax, so it's just a payment you're making.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh, okay.
it's so much per
It's
acre,
in lieu of
yes.
a tax based on the size of the property and all that kind of stuff.
How much game lands the Commonwealth
Value,
has.
assessed value and all
They
that.
do a certain price per acre. And,
I didn't know the state paid taxes.
Well, they don't,
It's-
the game commission does.
Well, that's true, well, they're state agency.
Okay,
But-
let's move on.
Go ahead.
the county liquid fuels grant, this is, 64,000 again. This has an in and an out, so there'll be a matching expense in the, general fund. That, again, will be, whether we use it or not, it will depend on whether we receive it. Charges for services, the majority of this is based off of our fee schedule. And we will be reviewing that on a yearly basis for any changes that need to occur based off of making sure that we're not subsidizing anything. Then at the bottom of there's revenue received from the county treasurer for current year taxes. That's the county real estate collection. We get a whopping $2 per parcel. The school revenue, our school real estate collection, we get a whopping 95 cents a parcel for collecting state college area school district taxes. And the tax certification includes the duplicate bills and tax certifications. We upped those prices in our fee schedule. So they're $5 for the duplicate bills and $15 for the tax certifications. Sale of recyclables is the selling of scrap metal from riffraff. I really have to compliment the road crew on that. They've done a great job with it. Dog license fee, we expect a little bit of a decrease in that because people are getting lifetime licenses, right?
Not that that's a big revenue source for us.
No, that's not a huge revenue creator. Pavilion rental fees. So the pavilion rental fees include sports rental fees. We do have, we're going to be breaking those out. But that's kind of the pavilion for both parks and the sports fields for both parks. And then the last piece of the income on this is streetlight, which has an offsetting expense account to it.
One quick question before you go to the expenses. The American Rescue Funds, remind me, we get the money, but we only
We have until 2024
to use
to
it.
commit
Okay.
and 2026 to spend.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
thank you.
as long as we have contracts signed and we're good to go, we can continue to spend, but we do have a time limit on that.
Right. And criteria of how. to
Oh,
spend it.
absolutely.
Yep, thank you. Okay.
But the Fed still hasn't released, I'm sorry, the Treasury Department still hasn't released their final roll. We have a final interim roll. But the advice from PSATs is to continue to wait until we receive the final roll before spending the money.
Okay.
Are there any questions on income projections? I remind you, I try to underestimate income and overestimate expenses as a general rule of how I budget.
Anybody have any initial questions? Okay, let's move to expenses.
All right. All right. So before we hit the expenses, the pay scale that you see in front of you, the portion that is not in any public documents, that is reflected in the budget as we go through the items. I'm not going to go through a deep explanation of that, but that's how it's tied. If you have any questions on that, we can go through that. Okay, so supervisor salary. I love that it's called a salary because the reality is that is a stipend you receive, and it's $1,800 for 5 members, plus a $50 Center County Association of Township officials.
Reimbursement? I don't
Yeah,
know
you
what
get
to call it, yeah.
you get a whopping $50 if you go to that.
Convention. they
There you
call
go,
it, yes.
convention.
CCATO convention.
I budgeted for $200 for each supervisor for mileage then as well. Whether you use it or not, if you're going to different trainings or different things, it's available to you there. Because of last year and the year prior, we did not do any professional development. We kept everything at a minimum. And we're now at a point where we can do some professional development and get people back on track with keeping current in their job field or the changes going on. So this year you're going to see professional development back where we cut it severely the last 2 years. So this professional development is for the supervisors. It's $1,000 each. So that can include any conventions that you go to or any different fees for different webinars you might want to attend or anything along those lines that will help you become more current in what's happening as supervisors. The salary of the manager is what it is. We took out mileage this year. The staff has not used mileage. And they are able to, but they have foregone that.
I've never used mileage either, so I'm not sure.
It-
Ever. But it's there.
It's there.
We don't have to spend it.
And then the professional development, each person or title will have $1,000 this year moving forward. But I wanted to actually attend a convention, so I chucked a little extra on there for attending a convention. The assistant treasurer's salary and overtime, I will just make a quick note that in 2022, we expect that we will be going back to an 8-hour workday or a 2,080 hour work year. In the past, the budgets that you've seen were for 35 hours. So there was no overtime budgeted for certain people because everything was budgeted for 35. So there was this no man's land that kind of existed between hours 36 to 40 that never showed up. This budget now has all of those items into consideration. The professional audit is $7,500. That is with Boyer and Ritter for the fiscal year of 2021, and then professional development. Tax collection, the tax collector supplies.
Super quick.
Yes.
Oh, that's treasurer. Sorry, keep it going.
Okay. Tax collection, the tax collector supplies is the RBA software. We pay a licensing fee for that collection software and tracking software. The tax collector's training, there is, anytime somebody's elected to the position, there's a training that's required every 3 or 4 years. And this assumes that the current tax collector will be reelected, and we'd like to get that training done right away. Solicitor and legal services, there's going to be a heavier reliance on legal services as we make some of the changes that we've been talking about. There's going to be personnel changes, and we're going to be looking at more processes and procedures that we can improve. Legal advertising is for ordinances, meetings, any type of legal requirements for advertising, and codifications. Codifications is very large, and the reason for that is because we did no codifications for 2 years to save money. The problem is the longer you go without that, the higher that's going to be. If we don't address it, it's going to continue to get higher. So we've got a zoning ordinance that hasn't been codified. We have a parkland ordinance that hasn't been codified. We just did the street light district changes. That needs to be codified. So there's a lot in there to pay for getting us up to date with our codifications.
Does anybody want to chat about these items now, or are we waiting? Just curious.
Figure we just get down through it.
Fine for me? Good, good.
See everything as a whole and then.
Okay, sounds good.
The secretary clerk salary, overtime, and professional development are listed out there. The professional development from the clerk's a little bit higher because there is a PAMA conference that we expect that she'll be in attendance for that.
And does that also include, isn't there some other kind of certification that's like every so many years or
Yeah,
something?
there's-
Sometimes it's higher than others. Okay.
again, we've put off as much as we
Yeah.
can for the last couple of years. Other general government administration. So office supplies, that's incredibly high, but that's because we expect moving back here, we're going to need some supply cabinets and a couple of little pieces to help get the move back here on track. Postage, that increased because we're expecting to get back to sending out newsletters. We're going to be doing 2 next year, kind of a spring and a fall. That way we're reaching residents who don't have Facebook or website or email. We're still reaching people at the mail level. And we're also doing a print map. If you've ever seen the folded out map that has all the road names and then there's advertisers around it, we did it last in 2008. We're going to be doing that and sending one to every household this coming year. General operating supplies, pens, whatever we need. Those are just paper, all those type things. Staff bonding, that includes bonding for the manager, the treasurer, and the clerk or secretary, and there's a notary bond in there as well. Contracted services, that is our copier and our copier lease and paper copies.
You skipped the subscription and dues, but I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can see that.
I-
Okay.
So subscriptions and dues are our memberships to PAMA, PSATs, PML, all those different types of associations that give us like legal defense on certain things. That's our basics right there. 406.
Dog license.
Okay, so we're at dog licenses. Thank you. So the dog licenses, that's how much, again, we don't expect that to be much because people are going different places. So computer supplies, that's our next one. That is, sorry, I'm just trying to keep up with
Go
this.
ahead.
407, or no, I'm sorry. Yes, 407. That is all of our everything IT. So that handles our, my printer doesn't print calling up State College Borough. That's our contracted services with them. They had a small increase. They're still well below the average for an hourly rate on that. It includes our Dropbox subscriptions. It includes our QuickBooks, all those different items. This year, we've put in a training for staff, which will be phishing scams. The State College Borough IT has a way that they send out a fake email, see who clicks on it, and then can report back to us. So we're going to be doing some training on IT security because that's becoming a bigger issue with ransomware. And we want to make sure we're getting staff trained on that.
Quick question, does that include any hardware
Um,
replacements or anything like that?
No replacements yet. We don't
Okay.
have a replacement schedule. We were able to use CARES Act money to get everybody. Everybody now has the exact same laptop.
Beautiful.
So it's all, everybody has dual screens.
Nice.
Everybody has the same equipment. It includes, there's a list,
okay.
huge list of all the subscription services, but we do need to create a replacement schedule for these because they're already a year old. The government building, telephone is what it is, internet, electricity.
One sec, engineering services.
Oh, I'm sorry. Engineering services is higher than previous budgeted years. That's because we have 2 road projects, number 1. Number 2, this year we'll be doing in-house stormwater projects, and we'll need to rely on the engineer for some of that as well. General government building, telephone, internet, electricity, propane. Propane is increasing just as a price of the commodity, so we budgeted higher for that. Water, heating oil. Heating oil will have, when we leave 1948 Half Moon Valley Road, we're going to need to fill the tank one last final time, so that's going to be a little bit of an increase. Building repair and maintenance, that's high because that's going to be the construction in here. I'm sorry, building modifications
Ah.
in here.
Because I didn't see anywhere for cleaning services, do we have that?
Is that
Um,
lumped in somewhere?
That is in contracted services. I don't know if I have that. That's a good, that's in building repair and maintenance.
Okay, because I was wondering if it was in that group.
The office space rental, that is to go to the end of our lease at 1948 Half Moon Valley Road till the end of December. That's full payment.
It stops at the end of 2022, correct?
Yes, so December 2022 is our last payment on that. I've already informed our le-
Leaser?
le-
Leaser?
I've already informed our landlord
There you go.
that we intend to move back here so that he can also have proper preparation for moving a new tenant in. The public safety, fire, what you'll notice is this is the offsetting account to the income from the Commonwealth. All the other fire has been moved to the fire fund.
Yay.
Ambulance rescue, this EMS workers' compensation is Halfmoon Township's portion or share of the workers' comp for our EMS. EMS services, I would like to point out that, you're welcome to come in.
Sure. I was just looking for a drop-off box for use of building for Cub Scouts.
Oh,
They said there was a drop-off box somewhere, and I couldn't find it. I'm
it's at
sorry.
the other building, but I'll take
I'm
that.
sorry, I'm so
No,
sorry.
that's
That's okay.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Perfectly
fine.
Appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks,
You
you
too.
too. Okay. See, people are already coming here. Our EMS services, I want to make a note that that $12,525 in that line is something that was supposed to be a one-time line item increase that was voted on by the board in 2020's budget. We've kept it and have been able to keep it at that level. I will note that there's no contract with EMS like with fire. We've asked to get that ball rolling. I've not heard anything, but I do want to say that is at the same level that was intended to be a one-time increase. We are able to continue to support EMS. Planning and zoning, the zoning officer services that's contracted with Patton Township, that is based off of a slight increase in his rate, 5 hours a week and mileage included. So that's going to be what it is. The PC secretary is a $50 one-time per meeting stipend we provide. We do not have a planning secretary, or planning recording secretary right now. We're hoping that we've had a couple of people that are interested, but it doesn't pan out for their time schedules, so still looking for that. Center Region Cog dues. I have a breakdown for you in the detailed budget if you want to go through that at any point. But some of that is based off the standard COG formula, and some of it is based off of actual use. It's, the library program is based off of use and circulation. We've gone through those numbers before, but those are the numbers projected for 2022. And PC professional development, I didn't give everybody 1,000 here. What I did is there's 7 members, and I did 350 per each member. The reason being is a lot of times they can share the links to different webinars, and we've been using that availability to kind of help keep that budget low, but we expect there's going to be more training, and there's the need for it as well. Next, PA one-call services. That is a separate line item that used to be in subscriptions and dues, but our auditors told us pull that out. So that averages a whopping $20 a month. It's just for electronic notification of the 811 calls before you dig. Sanitation. Trash collection, we expect a small increase for that. That's trash collection for this building and for the Public Works building. Riffraff, that is the cost of the dumpsters. I believe we contract with Carson Disposal, and that's also the price for, like, when we have our volunteers come in, we buy water for them, and this year it was a little higher because we had to have PPE ready for everybody, but we've kept it under the 45. The portion of Public Works, General Services, and Administration I'd like to note is our part-time and seasonal wages. We did have a road crew member pass away. We do not intend a replacement at this time, but we are increasing the seasonal wages, the hours for the seasonal person. Uniform allowance, that has increased, and that is because the anticipation for next year is that I will have a boot allowance, because we do not have a policy in place right now that steel-toed or composite shoes should be required on sites, and that is something that I anticipate we'll be approving in the personnel manual before the end of the year. So that would include a boot allowance and then PPE as well. Our roadmaster got certified for public spray applicator and pesticide license. So there's a need now with the understanding of that application and that we need to have certain PPE that we do not have. Professional development, again, 1,000 per person. The address signs is, we've been doing those green reflective signs for people. We expect, there's an income and there's an expense. Part of this is the $1 commission for anybody who sells the signs. So we've invited the fire departments and EMS to help promote this, and we increased the cost so that each entity will get $1. So even as we sell the signs, we will be paying out $1 to the fire companies and to EMS. Storm sewer drains and supplies. So 436, you haven't seen that in the past. This is new. This is our in-house projects for 2022. There are, I believe, 5 or 6 projects total. They're small. Most of them are actually along Smith Road, but it's to help. We've done some road work and some drainage issues along there. This will be the continuation to get the pieces that are still washing out on a regular basis.
So these are projects that we've deemed the scope of we can handle
In-house.
in-house rather than contracting out.
Yes, so there are some contracted services to it. We will need, there's some backhoe services to it, but there's some supplies and equipment rental that we will have. But our guys will be doing some of the work, and it will be a 3-person crew. 1 will be flagging and 2 will be doing the work on the roads in conjunction with the contracted services.
This will be then at a lower cost than what we would have contracted out. That's the idea.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Because
Considerably.
we're the salary we're
Contract.
giving the guys, or hourly rate, that's part of being included in this as well.
Great.
I thoroughly believe this will be approved as American Rescue Fund, so it's a separate item and being tracked separately, but I don't have the final rule. But that's how we're able to do some of that. The repairs of tools and machinery, general operating supplies, everything in the 437 category. The petro, of course, is high, very high, because gas has increased and we've had a higher need for it. The repair, maintenance, and supplies includes, and I've never heard of this, an impact driver set. And the road crew requested it. We got some quote. We're getting there. So I learned about an impact driver set. So there'll be a purchase of that as well. The 438 for the maintenance of roads and repairs. The computer portion of that is the robotics annual subscription. The dead tree removal, this was high last year. We're going back down to the regular price of what we've budgeted, around $3,500. That might be used, that might not. And then the maintenance and supplies is some extra 2 RC stone for berming and shoulders, and Davison Road. Road construction projects, this 64,000 is the the county liquid fuels opposite account. So if we get it, great, we'll spend it. If we don't, we don't. Park maintenance and repairs. So let's talk a little bit about the parks. We have back in 2015, there was a park certification from an ANSI. Yeah, I know. I have to try to remember what that is.
The National Standards Institute?
No, that's, I'm thinking of something
Different
else.
organization?
That's something else. That's why I
You
have
say
these.
ANSI? ANSI?
Yeah. It's a certified playground so there's like a certified playground inspector. And that was last done in 2015. And there's this huge report. But that's something that's supposed to be done on a yearly basis as far as having reports and everything. So what we're going to be doing is sending one of our road crew members to be trained. We reached out to local municipalities to see if their people will come in, but they don't have insurance for that to happen because it gets pretty dicey. So we're going to train our own staff to do it. And the class that they're giving in State College asked that they use our playground as their teaching. So yay.
Okay.
We're going to have a full report by a
Lovely.
bunch of different people, I assume. So it'll be great because we'll have that opportunity. So this park maintenance and repairs, I expect that we're going to have a couple of items that we need to work on with that. The park equipment, that's also included, so chains for the swings when they break, or just some small items that we need to have for the park. The community event supplies, that we've talked about getting the Easter egg hunt back on this year. We've talked to Brothers Pizza about that. That's also the rights for the movie in the park. And any other type of events that we're doing. We're doing one with Barn that we've worked on getting some supplies for. The park electricity is what it is. Portable toilet rental. So what's strange is this is labeled portable toilet rental. What this is actually the line item for contracted services. We've made it, in the past, that's just been because it's the contracted services. What this includes this year is okay, here we go. The certified playground inspections at both parks. I expect that that's going to be in contracted services, and I can see that I need to change that. So I thought that was going to be something that we were going to need to do and pay somebody else to do. And so I budgeted for $3,000 for each park. What I'm expecting for that now is it is the toilet rental at both parks. I'd like to add a toilet to each. If you see, there's a portable toilet in the second bay at Autumn Meadow. That was provided by somebody who's renting the fields there and was concerned they wanted another one. Now that I know that we can do that and it's been working, we're going to plan on having that second rental for the increased use of the park. And then here as well, it's been working really well with one bathroom, but as the parks have been increased, we're seeing there's an increased need for it. And then trash cans. We also want to put some trash cans in each park, an additional trash can at Autumn Meadow further into the field. And I also have a little bit in there for the fact that we will have, we're working with Sophie Dillon from the Scouts, and she's doing the memorial brick planning and walkway. So we'll have some supplies that we'll need for that as well. And I think we'll need to do some contracted services to make that happen. I'm hoping some people will donate some time to that project for her, but we have to solicit that, and if we aren't able to, there'll be some contracted services for that. Libraries, Schlow Library, that's based off of usage. That actually decreased over last year. The Center County Library is the donation we give to all the other libraries in Center County. Conservation of Natural Resources, the Spring Creek contribution is 10 cents per resident, and we expect, we did get the numbers now, that'll be slightly lower, because that is, I expected we would have about 3,000 residents, we have just under.
Yeah.
CNET subscribers and dues, that is our best estimate because at the time of the budget, Cindy didn't have approval for those numbers. Then we get to employee benefits, and we can go through each portion of that if you'd like. The ones I'd like to really note is the 483.30, the non-uniform pension contribution. So that is our MMO plus the extra 2,000 we said we would send to help increase our funding ratio, plus the defined contribution plan portion, 6% of anybody who's newly hired in the defined contribution plan instead of the defined benefit plan. So that's 3 things in one. The workers' compensation insurance, that has a $2,000 audit in there. I'm not sure what the price of that will be. We get audited every so many years on workers' comp. We're due for the audit, so that's included in there. Plus, I put a contingency of $1,000 for any increase that we might get in our insurance renewals for the next year. The liability insurance, that's the one where I told you we got our insurance renewals. We now have an umbrella policy, which is increased coverage for the township, and $1 million of extra coverage. Health insurance, rising cost of that. The $457 admin fee in $487,197. That is $200 that PSATS has historically waived, but we still put it in there because at any time they can still charge that. Vision, dental, life, short-term disability. The HRA reimbursement is $400 per full-time employee. The unencumbered or uncommitted is what I would say, any unexpected things that may arise. So we've been using that portion of funds for flowers that we send to somebody who might have had a loss, or the memorial brick purchases for the same type of things. It's also kind of a safety net, we'll say, for things that come up that we haven't budgeted for. The other meetings is if we have any type of joint meetings or any other meetings that we need to hold.
Snacks or
Yeah,
something.
anything along those lines. The transfer to Park and Rec and the transfer to equipment and the interfund operating transfers are the amounts that, this should be no surprise, we've talked about this for the last how many budgets have we gone through together?
2, I think.
2, yeah. So 37,000 to Park and Rec to cover the loans, and 30,000 to equipment to cover the loans. And then the street light is the offsetting number for the income. And that gives us a balanced budget for general fund. That's a lot to go over in expenses. I know. And it's a lot of information to digest. I know.
And looking at all those expenses, this is where I want to just make sure that we all are on the same page with what our goals for this upcoming year are, based on what we decided last year and what the goals were last year. Did we successfully meet those goals with the budget by cutting back and doing things like that? And redistributing money to various things, are they in the areas that we believe are the priorities for this year? So that's what Denise attempted to do here, and I just want to make sure that that's in line with what our thoughts are as well. So where do you want to start? Do you have questions, specifics?
When you say, you mean the goals that we worked on at the,
Yeah, so we
And then
know
we've
that we
talked
want,
about
like, the land use, looking at
Right.
zoning, the ordinances,
Right.
having the saldo thoroughly looked at, needing the legal resources to be able to do that, because that's a lot, and we don't
and I
know
know
if
road planning was in
road
that too.
planning's in there.
Yeah.
So those are the types of things, it's a big increases
As long
in
as we're
those
kind
budgets.
of, somebody's referring back to like the work that we did and making sure that we're tying things in.
Yeah.
And I know we talk about these things as we go too, so that's,
So does anything stand out as anything like, maybe we should put this money here instead of this money there? Is there any,
but
do you want to
It
go down through the
balances.
sections?
nothing, like you said, we've talked about most of this as we've gone along through the year, and I know last year we had to really look at severely trimming or even
Yes.
totally cutting some things. So it's nice that we're able to balance and have things in there that that we didn't actually want to cut from before.
I think the solicitor's fees are too high.
But just because we have it budgeted, doesn't mean that we have to spend it either.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
And that's, again, my budgeting practice is I underestimate income and overestimate expenses. And that's, Dave, exactly the whole piece of this. What my hope is if we have some surplus at the end of the year, that we can transfer it to park or equipment and pay our loans off faster.
There we go. We like that. I was also going to mention, correct me if I'm wrong, Denise, with our new solicitors, they can provide more services, which you're obviously looking to take advantage of than previous solicitors. So the HR policies, those types of things. So that's also why it's such a high increase, because we plan on using them for more things than we had for the previous.
Tightening things up and fixing things will save us money and
Hopefully,
issues.
yes.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, we are kind of broke.
Sometimes.
My least favorite saying, and the staff knows this, is I never want to hear, that's how we've always done it. Because things change and we need to be.
But is it a matter of,
That's how we've always done it. It's a matter of, if you go give the solicitor a blank check and say, you spend the money on whatever we think we need, the
Oh,
money
that's
will
not
get
how that
spent.
works. That's
And
not
I
how
know
that works
that's
at
not
all.
our goal here, but, it's a substantial jump over the previous year's budgeting for the solicitor. Say, if we don't have to spend it, I don't want to spend it, but.
not.
Of course not.
Of course
Yeah.
not. It's in there as the fact that,
And we'll be approving the expenditures as they come up.
right, and I monitor the bills, remember, and so do you. Because we go through the process of segregation of duties. So whoever opens the bill looks at it. When Brett puts the bill in, it's looked at and initialed. I get the bill. I sign off on it. The board signs off
And if
on
we need
it.
to fire a flare off in the midway through the year saying, hey, we're spending way too much on attorney's fees.
Oh, yeah, and that's
Why?
why you also get the reports that are sent out with every bills list. That is the profit and loss, and the balance sheet for each fund as they happen. Like, we keep you as informed as we can of everything that's going on.
I know you work hard at that.
We
And
want
I'm
to.
assuming too, we will know the projects that are happening that are gonna be reviewed by
Right,
the
the
legal
personnel
services, so,
policy
yeah.
updates, I'm hoping to have done by the end of the year. That's my goal. Because there are a lot of things that we need to change, such as, we don't have that requirement that steel toes. That's something that's a
I think
safety
OSHA
issue.
would have something to say about that.
We're not required to go by, this is insanity.
Really?
This is insanity. We are not required as a municipality to stay to the standards of OSHA. If anyone out there can explain to me how we as a government entity are not required to comply with the rules of a government
Do as we say,
entity
not as we do.
is insane. However, that's exactly what I plan on putting into the policy and our uniform.
It should be.
Because I believe that's a safety standard
Somebody
that
loses some
protects our
toes,
workers.
we're not gonna be happy about it here.
Yeah, did you ever see anybody get their foot smashed in a steel toe? It ain't pretty.
Well, that
I'm
ain't
sure
good
it's
either.
not pretty.
Yeah.
But you hope that doesn't happen either.
Yeah, I know, but I never wore steel toes for that reason, so.
Okay, so from our perspective at least, we're all cautious of the fact that the legal services is very high, so we'll wanna make sure we pay attention to that throughout any of the projects that were worked on,
I
so,
guess when
definitely.
Slightly different direction. The
Yep.
stormwater management project, you'll give us a breakdown of what you're, I don't need it now.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you know what you're gonna get involved with it, so that's where that number came from, I take it.
Yes, so I actually have this from the engineer, which is our in-house stormwater management cost for the next year. And it breaks down how many labor hours, how many tons, like what we need, the backhoe R4 riprap. Great.
So looks like
So
we got the backup.
We
got
yeah, I have the documentation of what it will
I
cost.
figured you had something, I just didn't know how complete the document you had was.
Yeah, and I know the budgeting practice in the past was to provide you with all of this, and I mean, I can give you these.
I don't need to see it.
But
As
yeah, I
long as
have
you
it.
know where you're going with it, and you come to the board and say, we're gonna do this project,
Yeah,
and then we'll do whatever we do to approve it,
Yeah,
so.
I have all the backup documentation. I just, in an interest to save paper, I didn't
Yeah,
print
we don't need to
these
kill any more trees.
pieces for everyone.
And I guess the only other gripe I have is the gripe I always have. Center Region gets too much and the library costs too much. But other than that, the budget looks good.
It's like, why do we pay them so much and the other libraries that actually bring a bookmobile out here get a little wee bit? Why does SCLO need so much money?
So they, and this is, as a manager and managing funds and knowing what we can and cannot handle, I think that, I agree. I agree in the fact that I don't think it's fair to the other libraries that we support one with a huge amount and give breadcrumbs to the others and say, good luck. However, it is a COG service that we subscribe to. And as such, there is a formula that's associated with it based off of use. I will say, having gone through the process of doing the library tour and meeting with the director and actually looking at the services that are there, they grossly they grossly mismarket themselves. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people think the library is just this one portion, but and this is, I believe we had our library board trustee come, Sharon Rovansek, and talk about some of the services, and I'm floored.
I'm not complaining about the services, I'm just complaining about the cost.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things we could always do, because we've done this in the past, and we did this with refuse and recycling as well, is poll the people, because it's their money. And
Absolutely.
we could definitely put a survey out, just like we did, did we do a survey? I think we did a survey for the refuse and recycling, just to confirm everybody's still cool with what we have. And we could do the same thing with the libraries. It costs us this much, here's what we get. We could invite them to a meeting and have Sharon and, the folks from the library come and talk about things. And we could poll the people. Do you want to keep it or not?
And that's, from what I've gathered, the majority of residents want to stay in that program.
Majority of online residents.
Well, but see,
Yeah.
now we have a newsletter we're gonna be doing. We
Yep.
can include
Well,
this
there's your
information.
opportunity.
Yeah. So we can definitely add that to, and this is also something we do seems like every few years, is just validate, because they are budget line items that are pretty hefty. We validate continuing these programs. So it's a perfect opportunity for us to put it on the list or plan for next year to do a survey out to just confirm, and then that way for next budgeting season, or if we need to make any changes, we can make changes as necessary.
Yeah, and we get, our Zoom is going through the library, right?
Yes.
And I know all the the library's providing Zoom services for everyone.
Not everyone. We contracted with them because they provide us with all the pieces that I can't learn or have the time, and
And we
they
don't wanna pay for it
manage it.
separately?
They make sure that we're doing everything that we need to. All I have to do is click a couple buttons and we're done. So, yeah, if we didn't have that through them, we would have to reallocate a little bit of our staff time towards it as well. So there's a lot that's there, but we can add it to we can add a survey about whether or not residents want to continue that service through the COG on our newsletter.
Yep, add that to the newsletter plan.
Oh, I guess it's just, I'm sitting there looking at it and I see $3,500 to the Center County Library. I don't know what their situation is, but they've been faithful with their bookmobile for 40 years or something crazy like that. It's been a regular service, and maybe it's not being used. I mean, maybe it's time that goes. I don't know.
We receive a thank you letter from them every year, from the county.
Right, but I don't know how heavily it's used or not used.
I don't either.
I know my wife was a diehard bookmobile fan. We lived in Stormstown, but,
We use it.
yep, there's a lot of people that
That might be
do.
a nice thing as well. You know how we typically have folks come and give reports? I don't know if I've ever heard anything from the Center County Library, so that might be nice to do as well for our comparison and just make sure that we're sort of treating everyone the same.
And this is just a number that we came up with, right, that we give them, or where did that come from?
remember.
It's just a donation amount
I
that we
think it's
come up
just a
with. There's no specific,
Request.
Formula for that.
right,
I'm sure we could give more if we wanted
There's
to.
a number that said, hey, let's just give them that. Screw them other libraries, let's give them a little wee bit, you know? So where's the fairness of it, I guess, is the big
Should
thing.
be at least some balance to it, I think.
Well, I guess it depends on the service, and that's the thing we gotta look at, is the services being provided.
And
As well.
The size and the location, that's everything.
Yes, Ron?
Is SCLO part of the Center County Library System, or is its own entity?
that answers like both.
It's kind of both, I think.
Yeah, so they're part of a federation, which they've got their own direction, but they're also part of the actual county system. So if we were to pool funding for any reason, their funding gets changed because their formulas are based off of the fact that there's funding that's guaranteed through the
Municipal contributions,
municipal dues.
dues, yes.
So it's slightly different because the other ones are not part of this library federation, but they are still all part of the county system.
So like, what do they call it, borrowed books and things like that, they're all in the same system.
Right, so if I want to pick up a,
Okay, I understand that. It's like an interlibrary loan system.
Kinda, yeah.
Because I worked for libraries for 27 years, so university libraries, so. Will you tell the people when you solicit their opinion about whether they want the service? Are you going to also tell them what it costs?
Oh, absolutely. Heck yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Petit Library. They have the second best map library in the world, I think, is up at Petit.
And
Or at least in the United States anyways.
The best facilities in the world.
Yeah, nice facilities, but,
Have a-
and we don't give any money up there at all. But,
Well, I gave 30 or 27 years of blood, so.
there you go.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
They were here last meeting, how good we are.
So we legal. I'm just highlighting the main topic areas that we just want to keep an eye out on. The legal services. I'm calling it engineering. That's where the stormwater projects were. Then the COG fees, and again, like I said, every couple years we always like to reevaluate those types of things as well. So we can definitely do that again and survey out to residents about SCLO Library or county libraries in general as well. Okay, what else? Anything else of note? Okay.
Nothing that can't be dealt with as the year goes
Yeah.
on.
And like I said, I like planning, and we don't have to use it if we don't need to. Right?
right, and I'd much rather have high expenses and come in under budget than the
Yes.
opposite.
Sounds good. Okay. Everybody okay? All right, let's move on. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
let's do it.
Great. Wow,
Yeah.
excellent. So, let me pull up the next one.
State Highway Liquid Fuels, is that where we are?
Yep, so we'll be going to State Highway Liquid Fuels next. Wow, let's stop on that train. Okay. State Highway Liquid Fuels.
Is that page 8?
Yeah, your table of contents will have the one that, and then your tabs
The blue
in the
tab.
back, yeah, it's
So
the,
this is the detail.
yeah, that's the detail, and then, the summary is in the back. So whichever one you prefer, but I'm using the summary as our main piece to look at. Okay, let me share the screen on this one. Boop. Boop. The sound effects help me. Okay, so what you're gonna see for a base on this is we have a net loss for the year. I talked to our auditors, Meyer and Dussel, and said, like, I was freaking out over a penny at one point, and they said, stop. Liquid fuels is designed to be spent. It's not something that's gonna be held against you. You have a fund balance to cover those, so don't panic on this, because that might go away if we get the county grant.
Right.
So, just a quick start, the interest on checking, again, I don't expect much on that. The liquid fuels tax, so that is Act 655, the allocation based off of our mileage of 20.53, and that is based off of the population for the 2010 census. We have an increase of 135 residents from our 2,667. So we might get a little bit more on that, but I kept the allocation at the 2010 census levels. The state road Turnback is the Turnback program based off of the fact that we've given 2.26 miles of road back.
Yeah, we got suckered into that.
Yeah, that's,
not a good thing.
the reality is that's never gonna be enough to cover the actual cost of the road expenses, but,
Don't do turnbacks.
yeah. Solicitor legal advertising, this is for, the road projects, cause we have to put that out to bid.
Okay.
Same with engineering services, because most of that work has already been completed. I don't expect there'll be a lot to that, but we do have that expense with it. The winter maintenance, so it was kind of a free-for-all before, I would say, in the supplies. What I did is I went ahead and assumed, I averaged the amount that we purchased over the last 4 years for each. And then from that average, I assumed a 6% increase in the cost of goods and included a 10% contingency. So even,
How is it still so much less? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at what was budgeted the previous years, not what was spent. Sorry. Carry on.
yeah, so we budgeted a lot but didn't spend it, and I feel like we should probably budget more accurately. So that's why that is different. The street signs, the 2,500, so one of the job, oh goodness. One of the goals for the road crew is to complete a sign inventory in 2022, including what we have, what is in compliance and what is not, and then order signs for anything that is not in compliance with the reflective standards and replace them. So that's money for those portions.
Love it.
The repair and maintenance supplies is cold patch material, which I'm told is called QPR. And then additional 2RC for berms and Davison Road. So I'm expecting some portion out of general fund for that and some portion out of liquid fuels. The contracted services, the repair, maintenance and services is the crack sealer.
Sorry.
You read my note. I know
the
you read my
already.
note.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm laughing about it.
And I don't know what to call it, and I didn't, so Dave, you might
Dave will
have to
laugh.
help me.
Yeah.
But we have the crack sealer for a week for $2,500, and that is going to be the roads that will be crack sealing for the upcoming paving. So that's been planned out as far as we crack seal before we pave, so that helps preserve the pavement even longer. The contracted services, I didn't know what to call this.
Road squeegee thing is what it's called in the note on the budget. Is that accurate?
That's a
Dave?
Technical term, I don't think. That's the synthetic asphalt with the,
Yes. So how it was explained to me was that's that
Like
thing
epoxy, yeah.
that
Is there
and
a
yeah,
name for
it
it?
squeegees the road.
oh, it has a brand name
Oh,
probably.
okay.
There's different names.
But
for it.
what should I, like? Because it
A waste of
literally.
money is the best
What is it?
term. A
Well,
waste of money.
I got it from the man.
Dave promoted it.
Dave did. And what's
It definitely has a good purpose in filling in certain types of situations.
I
But
can
you gotta
show
use
you.
it right, like everything else.
It does fill in the cracks, but why are you sending somebody out to crack fill ahead of a seal?
Sealer that's gonna fill the cracks, and we're not adding any stability to the blacktop over the years.
What we
Or is it
have
just a
robotics.
cost effective?
Okay.
Whenever we're up to do that type of work, should get involved in whatever's happening there. So we're budgeting the road squeegee thing.
So in other words, you just said, knock it off, we're moving on.
We
Perfect,
don't
let's move on.
think,
So
but
I don't know what to call it, but
for
I
the
call it the
budgeting,
road
but when
squeegee
that
thing.
comes
I
up.
just have an opinion about blacktop because
No,
I've done it
totally.
for 2 or 3 years.
But when that project
I
comes
get it.
up, you should definitely be involved in that project. This is just to talk about, we're gonna budget for
Budget
this
for it.
thing. Whether we
Again.
use it or not, that's another story.
There you go.
So I budgeted for the road squeegee thingy, and I don't know what to call it. Line painting is in that line item as well. And the boom mower rental that we do for a week to handle brush cut back along our right of
the side of
ways.
the roads.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the mower that has a big, like, deck and goes.
On that rental for the boom mower, when we've run it the last 2 years since you've been here, have you had any trouble with it, or has it worked good?
I'm not aware of any trouble. What I
Okay,
am
'cause
aware
I've
of.
talked to 2 other municipalities that have had trouble, and I don't know if it's because of where they rented it, or it just is a hunk of junk,
So we've budgeted for it, but I want to have some talks with municipalities about borrowing theirs if they own one, or doing a rental where it makes sense that the mobilization portion is lower. So it's budgeted. Whether or not it's something that we use is a whole nother story.
Well, definitely it's a good tool here again, but
And our planning, so we'll be having a planning session to plan out all these projects in good timelines so that we can communicate it out to the residents so they know. One of the things that we plan on doing is when this does happen, we want to say like, we're going to use Smith Road and do north, east, west of Smith Road, west of Smith Road and east of Smith Road, so you know roughly when your neighborhood will be boom mode. And what I understand is the complaint from residents came in the fact that we will use this to trim back trees that are overhanging and things that are kind of like in the road. And people were upset because they want to try to control some of that themselves. Because the tree might be on their property, but some branches might be hanging out in our roadway, and they didn't like the fact that
if
it
they get
leaves.
on it, then we wouldn't have to use the boom mower, so.
This is why we're gonna communicate. If you wanna take care of it ahead of time, be
Yeah.
prepared for the fact that we're coming through with this
That's good.
deck thing.
Okay.
Technical terms, all technical terms. And then the last portion of that is the contracted services, and that's the 135,000. That is for the 2 projects for 2022, which, in your 5-year road plan, are going to be Orchard Road from State Route 550 to Cherrywood Way and a portion of Doe Drive.
So, I got a quick question
Mm-hmm.
about overhanging trees. Is it the property owner's responsibility to cut branches that are overhanging the road?
So if
Because I think it should be.
if the tree is based on their property and some of it grows over, yes. And what happens is we come through to reclaim our right-of-way portion there, and that's why people were getting upset, is because we were just going, but they have the opportunity, we want to give them the opportunity to.
Cut it on their own.
I see, because I think it's a safety hazard.
It is, and that's why we go through with the boom mower and just do it, but,
This doesn't look like an arborist went through there.
Yeah.
yeah,
If
it
we were
looks
paying an
like.
arborist, our taxes would be 300
You can cut
mils.
the branches, my branches, you can cut them anytime. I don't care what it looks like.
Noted.
Good to know. Not
No,
everybody.
I'll cut them.
Not
I mean,
everybody
but
thinks that way.
I just wanted to know if that was a requirement of the property owner. Because I think it should be.
Requirement?
There's a big fight down
Whether they do it or not, it's gonna happen.
We'll take care of it one
Yeah,
way
I
or
got a
another.
big maple up front. I've kept that thing cut.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there, do you guys have any other concerns about the roads? Anything that should be here that's not? No?
And again, this might be,
We have a plan, we're gonna stick to the plan.
I love it.
Right?
And my only comment on that was when you're doing the road planning, if Chuck, you wanna be involved in that, I think an invitation, and Dave, if you wanna be involved, to head to the planning of those road projects, so you can help with how this money is best used.
I think that would be incredibly helpful, especially with some of the longer term plans. I'd love to pick your brain on some of it.
Also what we do in order that we do things
Yeah.
is to the road, like he said with the sealer, you know, you don't wanna,
The squeegee thing.
yeah.
Do it twice.
do-
I
do-
expected
do the
that's
right
gonna be
things
like a
at the right
3-year
time.
fix, not a
Yeah.
long-term fix.
Right.
Okay.
But I don't pave.
All right, we're good with, state highway liquid fuels money? Perfect.
All right, next we're moving on to
Open space.
So open space looks a little different in your detailed, and the reason being is all that history in the past. this year, and these documents right here, are the bank account that we're gonna be setting up. So I had to track things really strangely in the past between two bank accounts, even though it was in one fund, where this time, because it's all gonna be in one fund, and we can do intra-fund transfers, you're not gonna see the same numbers. It just doesn't show up on reporting the same. But what's great is it's all one lump of money. Okay. Let me pull that one up. I can't believe how fast we're getting through this. This is great.
It is great.
Okay, so open space, it's based off of the 2 mills of real estate assessed value. I use that $80 million number that's gonna be changed, but that was based off a 1% increase in real estate value. And I did a 95% collection rate. Just, we've had great numbers with collection rates again. So that's what the taxes are on that 301, the real estate current. The interest on checking is because it's actually the interest on checking and savings. When we combine this all together, having a higher interest savings account and then transferring funds to write the lease payments is gonna help us get more interest. All other income is anything that, you're not seeing that one on there. Any other income we get that from different funds might be included on that. The solicitor fees, the reason this is high is because we are getting ready to do our evaluations on the 5-year overall evaluation of the program, and I want the solicitor to get up to date on this and look at the long-term viability of this. So there will be a lot of legal reviews, plus any changes we make to leases or any type of change to the open space program will require some legal reviews. Anytime somebody also puts in an application, there's a title search and all those different portions that have to go through legal review as well. The recording secretary is a $50 stipend per meeting. We don't have a lot of meetings in winter times, and we usually can cancel 1 or 2, so that's what that is. The legal advertising is the cost of advertising any type of meeting, or, for example, we have an application. If that application is accepted, there has to be a legal advertising associated with it, and we're expecting one in 2022. Codifications, so any changes to the code, and anytime we put a lease in the program, we codify it. Recordings, that is deeds, changes to leases, getting all those things recorded with the county when somebody enters a program or gets out of the program. We expect, again, we have an application, so that's something that we expect for next year. Professional engineering, any engineering fees associated with the application for somebody to enter the program, we'll have the engineer go do a survey if needed, or just check on some of the geography associated with it.
Was last year really 35,000 and we budgeted 1,000? Or this year, sorry, this year.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Where are you seeing?
I can't remember
On the
21 budget.
in the detailed.
408 engineering services for year-to-date this year says 35,000, or is that what you're seeing?
That is not correct.
Okay, just checking.
Denise, if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
that's actually, it looks like the transfer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
It's the exact same amount. It must have went to a different line item.
Yep. That. So
Oh,
we.
I see all other income.
We
up there.
finished
It's the
this
same.
today at 3:30.
Yeah. Listen, it's been beautiful. Thanks, Brett.
So that's what that is. Because we had the from the savings to the checking in 2 different banks, it shows up as an expense and an income.
Ah, gotcha.
And that's what that is. That's the out of the open space preservation program, the long term, into the to make our payments. So that's what that is. You'll see the all other income is
Yep. Gotcha.
it going into one account, and
Expenses. That's
for
the-
whatever reason, I guess I put it in engineering. So yeah,
Thank you.
excellent. The annual lease payments. So I went back, this is based off of the CPI index, and I went back to 1972 when they first started recording these, and I averaged out through recessions and good times and everything, bull and bear markets. The average CPI increase since 1972 is 4%. When this program was instituted and the charts we used only averaged a 2%. So this is based off of this year's lease payments with a 4% increase with the current amount of acreage. So this might be actually a little bit higher if that other application is accepted, or it might be a little lower if the CPI is lower. But the safe bet was to average the 4% rather than 2. And that's that. So there will be a small net income for this. That amount then will be intra-fund transferred into the high interest savings.
Lovely.
And then we'll keep a little balance in the checking to handle any little expenses until it's time to do the payments, transfer it out, and go in. Make sense? Okay.
Do we have another property that's looking to get in this year or not?
We received an application. We'll be discussing it at the next open space meeting. What's odd is I was going to suggest, after looking into this, I was going to suggest to the board that evening that we stop any applications, and it came in at 3:00 the day that I was going to suggest that to the board. So
Have to take a look at it.
we will take a look at it. But there is an application pending. Good.
Yep. Okay.
Any questions on open space preservation?
Nope, I'm good. Just a quick, so if basically there's not as much activity as we think, you're probably gonna have a higher net income.
Yeah.
Okay, just-
Yeah.
Thank you.
And some of that is, I know I'm gonna be taxing our solicitor with a bunch of stuff. We may not get to everything that we anticipate, so again, this,
Well, we didn't use basically anything that we budgeted from last year for the legal,
no,
for
because
solicitor fees.
There was no
Yeah.
activity.
there was no
Yeah.
activity
Yeah.
and, yeah,
Okay.
but this year we expect there will be.
Okay.
All right, the next fund, if there's no other questions or items, we'll move on to the Park and Rec.
Can I ask a quick question about the open space? How many years are payments made?
So the last parcel that was put into the lease program is 99 years.
So they get payments annually for 99 years?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep, that's the program.
Wow.
It's not much.
Sell off one lot, you're gonna get way more money than you would get on that program. But the good news is, we only got, 100 and how many residents from the last census over the last 10 years?
Less than 200, or 115.
135 additional residents, but I do know
Must
that
be
there will
working,
be
because we'd get that
challenges.
many people a year,
Yeah.
normally.
Definitely did its job of preserving our land,
Yep.
so, at least for a temporary time frame.
Yep.
Okay. Parks.
Pulling up Parks and Rec
That's it.
now. Park and Rec. Okay. We have no money. So when it comes to Park and Rec, I literally made that 44-cent interest earnings just so it balanced out evenly because I need to see even numbers. I don't like it if it's not. So the 37,000 is the transfer from general fund that we expect. I know this is crazy, but I was able to take the pressure washer that we rent for the tennis courts and take it out of general fund and put it in Park and Rec because it's going to be used at the park. So that's the contracted services. And then the rest goes to our debt. And because Brett's been working really hard on getting everything into DCED and auditor standards, so in the past, we didn't have principal and interest broken out separately, and that is something that the auditors like to have. So the payments are still the total same, but that's the breakdown of interest and principal.
So was the rental or whatever the football's going on over there, that's in the general fund?
Yes.
Okay. Just curious.
The ideal is that Park and Rec is Park and Rec, and
Right.
that all handles all the portions of Park and Rec, but we have some debt to pay off before
Okay,
we can.
Gotcha.
But $895 will
Hey.
accumulate.
Okay.
Any questions on Park and Rec? And again, if we have an excess in the end of the year, I'd like to come to the board and ask to transfer some into this to pay off some principal to get our loans to pay off earlier.
And at one point we had talked about, but I don't think we haven't talked about it recently, are improvements to this park. That's not on the table for,
That was part of our master park
Plan?
plan.
yeah.
So that was like phase 2. Autumn Meadow was like phase 1, and then this was a whole other master
And that's in
plan.
that CPI thing, or not the CPI, the park inspector piece. That whole report from 2015 includes all that, like the phasing, the recommendations, everything. And we need to,
So we'll see what comes out of these new reports and
Yes.
then figure out
Yeah.
what we have to do and then what we may want to do.
and be able to do, yeah.
And be able to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But ideally, that this is also, so the developers, the fee in lieu of land dedication that we went, the parkland, anytime somebody goes to subdivide, some money will be going into this. So hopefully also that will help pay.
At some point.
Yeah, we have 2 parks to maintain and
Yeah.
it's gonna be a lot.
And remind me that this was a 10-year loan?
So, yeah, we expect that this payoff will
Oh, there
be
it is,
in the
30,
third quarter
2030.
of 2031.
Thank you.
Any way we can pay it off. We refinanced the loan this last year, and we lowered our payments and got 8 months quicker
Nice.
in that. So
Okay.
little by little, we're getting there.
Right. Because basically, I think, Patty, speaking to what you were saying, probably got to pay one off before we do anything else, yeah.
Yeah,
Unless we
Funds
get
or
money
grants
somehow,
or
yeah.
rescue- Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And I think that's what got us here too, is that there's grants out there, but we also have to put up money to get those grants, so.
Yeah, because there's some playground equipment grants that I was looking into, but it's a 50 match, and we don't have the matching funds right now.
What are strings attached to those
grants.
I
You just can't get a
know.
good grant and go do something.
It is nice to get money, but then, yeah, there's always
It's, the
something.
point of it is to double your money when you're ready to spend it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, moving along to capital equipment.
This one's fun. Similar to the park, we don't have any money. So this is 30,000 gets transferred in from the general fund. We have a loan to pay that is $28,516.30 every year. This year, so we have a little bit of a fund balance. So I authorize that we can get a gas-powered power washer that cleans off the equipment.
How much?
I was told 8,500. Then we looked, and I found some for 3,000. So
I'm sure it'll be a good piece of equipment for 3,000.
So there again, why does it have to be gas powered?
Don't we have one, or?
so we do. It's dying, and that's why we rent a pressure washer for out here. But we can't do the electric out here. It's a whole thing. I could give you some stuff.
Well, so if the one we have is getting to be junk, then we need to purchase one.
That's
But
what
if
this
we want to
3,000
purchase
is.
one just because it would be cute to have,
No, it's the one that we
because you
have
could
is
rent
dying.
one once a year, gas powered to do your tennis court, right?
Right, but gas powered in the shop for winter cleaning off the equipment is fumey.
Yeah, you can't run inside.
Right, so the gas powered is to fix the fact that we have one that's basically dying. And then the rental out here is,
So you're gonna replace the one that's dying
Yes,
with a gas
at the
power.
shop.
Yeah,
You just said you don't want a gas powered one for the shop.
No, the one out here is gas to do the tennis courts that we rent.
Okay, so the one for the shop's gonna be electric.
Yes. Electric, yes, it says
Okay.
electric.
That's,
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Um,
to keep track of.
so we're not buying a gas powered one.
No, we're buying an electric one.
Okay.
We rent the gas
Renting.
one for
Right.
out here
Yeah,
because we
once a
only
year,
use
which is
it to
probably a couple
clean them.
$100 or whatever.
Yeah, because I brought that up, like, why don't we just buy one and use it out here? And it was, well, we'd have to run electric from this pole in the winter with the rain, and like, that's weird. And then to do a gas one in there at the shop, they were like, we're gonna have a lot of fumes to deal with. And I was like, oh, okay. Got it. So, the Roadmaster is working on a longer term plan for some equipment replacement and working on speccing out some items because there's a desire for a purchase of a boom mower. So I've asked that they spec it and provide quotes. There's a desire for a new truck. Again, spec it, provide quotes. And a backhoe?
Yeah, that was brought up.
In,
Yeah, and a
in the
backhoe.
long term.
So I have long-term planning, some items budgeted, but I need
More.
input before, and Chuck, that's where I would love to also pick your brain about some of the equipment, because I don't know what these pieces are.
And which one is the John Deere tractor here?
That's the new green tractor we have that we use to do the pathways at the
Oh.
walkway,
Okay.
and
That's the one we're currently paying for, right?
no, that one's done. We paid
Oh,
that.
we paid it off.
That's
Good.
paid.
The cute little one with the cab on, so we're riding around the air conditioning, that was paid for.
For, I thought we just bought that one this year.
We bought it last year. We just put a beacon on it this year.
That was just a 2-year loan, or we paid it off early?
We paid that whole piece of equipment.
Early or a 2-year loan?
We just cash.
Just paid it.
We just cash paid that.
Okay, I thought we borrowed money to buy a tractor or something.
We borrowed money to buy the 2019 Western Star, and that's what we're paying off.
Truck.
Yeah, that's that big
Big plow
boy.
truck.
Yeah,
The
it's
big
bigger
boy is what I
plow
call
truck,
it. Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought we borrowed money to buy the John Deere tractor this year. Or
No,
last year,
we bought
or
that
whenever it was.
in 2020. That was in the 2020 budget. 46,747.25.
It was bought and paid for.
It was bought and paid for.
So we owe money on what right now, as far as equipment goes? Road-
The 2019 Western Star, and that will be paid off.
And that's it?
Yep, that will be paid off in the last quarter of 2024.
That's not too bad.
No,
That's good.
And where I have some things going, I have some plans for purchases, and then inter-municipal agreements with, like, why, to maintain some of this equipment's expensive, so if it's not being used, it's rotting away.
So
So,
it's like a boom mower.
You know, if you can rent it for a week and cover all the territory once a year versus the cost to them, it's like, there you go, it's just sitting around.
Yeah.
right,
You know, it's like the grader sitting out there. It's like, we don't really need a grader that much. So there again,
and I just learned that there's a grader that does like a U, and then a grader that does an angle, and we have the angle, and the U is better. Again,
yeah,
do
it's
some
one of those
equipment.
things. It's like,
Equipment reviews,
Do you
maybe.
do life cycle costing?
not yet.
Because I don't know, you can never determine what the comparison is between owning equipment and renting it, unless you do life cycle analysis.
Yes, that is, so
Part of the
fleet
plan.
maintenance is
Part of the plan.
part of the 2022 goals for the
Public
road, for the public work, including a list of current equipment, its life cycle, its expected replacement, how much it costs to maintain it per year, everything.
Okay.
Good. Questions on equipment? Moving on.
All right.
This one will take us about 5 seconds.
Capital Capital Building Fund,
So-
0.
Yeah, so when we did the building fund, why won't that go? Let me stop share for a second.
Go ahead.
When the building was done, there was a little piece left. There was a whopping like $2,500 left, and it's just been sitting with nothing. We're just gonna spend it to make the move back here. That's basically that. And then we need to look into a capital improvements long-term, including building and equipment. Hey, there it is. Okay. Let me go back to sharing. This is huge now.
Okay.
You ready for this? There it is. We're just gonna spend the $2,500.
Depending on how the budgeting goes for 2022 and what it looks like, if there is extra funds that could be put towards capital, were you able to do that if there's extra general
So-
funds left?
We're going to reevaluate.
Okay.
So instead of having equipment and building, the idea is we want to do long-term plan for how we're going to save for capital improvements.
Capital improvements, lovely. Whatever that entails,
But
yes. We need to build up some fund reserve though, because if
Yes.
anything
Well, this
happened,
doesn't happen again, so we're not sitting here
Exactly.
Wondering what's going on with the world. so.
and if anything happened, like for instance in this building, we don't have money to do anything.
Just something the board might want to consider. I will hearken back to 1993. We had a tremendous snowstorm in March. We spent $25,000 in the course of like 3 days clearing the roads.
was it FEMA reimbursed?
Some of it.
Okay.
Conveniently, they only gave reimbursement on select pieces of heavy equipment, which you may or may not have had available sitting around in your township. But, you know, it was an eye-opener.
Yes, and that's
And
why,
it's happened 3 times, not necessarily to the extent of that storm, but since I've lived in this township, we've had 3 times, 93, 94, and 96, we got clobbered.
oh, the 90s sound terrible.
We need another one.
That was wonderful.
Open people's eyes.
So, similar to doing fleet maintenance, I would love to take advantage of Lou Brungard, facilities manager at COG, to maybe just do a walk around and help us with the facility plan.
And-
Just, you know,
I did
check,
that as a profession.
just to check in on, you know, our equipment, our HVAC, or anything. When should we be budgeting for some maintenance items and things like that? So,
And that's something that's, again, part of the plan was
Yeah.
regular maintenance
Yes.
schedules. One of the things, Dave, we talked about this, and I think long-term, I think the idea is to consolidate the township properties so that we have one place where Public Works and the township admin staff is located, where we also hold our meetings. And so that's the long-term planning. I know that Autumn Meadow Park has been the desired location and was spec'd out to do that. So long-term, I would assume that's the best bet, where this still stays a community center.
That would be the easiest thing to overall.
And the park plan from 2015, that master plan, suggests making this a full community center and having our township office at a different location, which, again, everything centralized makes sense. But
But for the short term,
this
Yeah,
is a very good
we're
solution. The 2,500, I'm also looking into to have better file storage, a shipping container that is something, I forget what they call it, like windproof and waterproof, to put out here so that we have access to our
not an
files.
ugly one. So,
What's that?
not an ugly one.
not an ugly one.
No, because we can get one really cheap. There's some pretty nice ones, but it was suggested that we put a little shipping container here, and that way we can have our files that are all in the road crew place properly documented, and then have a consistent record retention schedule. So if we manage our files here, then we can pull and put and pull and put, and that would just be something we could then move over long-term.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Anything else in the capital budget? Capital building fund, sorry, not capital budget, capital building.
Wow.
Thought we
Yeah.
weren't gonna be there long, but
We were there a little longer than you thought.
Yep.
The last one is fire protection.
So this is
Um,
our new fund this year.
Yep. So let me pull that up. Why are you so angry with me, Files? Fire budget. Okay. So this is pretty straightforward. I will tell you that what you're looking at in the summary budget is combined for Port Matilda and Warriors Mark. Your detail budget breaks it out separately, so I'll go through that. But those are the total numbers. So the fire tax is 1.7 mils. We're basing a 95% collection rate off of the 80 million real estate value.
I'm gonna be a weirdo with consistency. Wasn't there 96% collection rate on the income?
I had to do that to balance the budget.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay.
There
I'm just being
was.
very anal about that, sorry.
You aren't paying your fire taxes.
No, everything has a 95, but I needed to balance. I wanted to present a balance, so I did 96. Why did you
It's an
pick that up?
estimate, I'm sorry, it's, you know,
Okay, so yeah, when I did 95, it didn't go as nicely.
that's okay.
So yes, 95% collection rate, 80 million, 1.7 mils. The interest income is any interest earnings on any savings or checking. Why do I have different numbers in there? I have a 2-cent, 4-cent difference. Oh, I don't like that.
You can adjust for it later.
I think you can, yeah. I'll give you 4 cents.
Okay, that's fine. The expenses. So the fire equipment, Port Matilda Fire Company, what number is that? 26. Requested, sent me a request. They're required to send me all the requests August 1st. This is 34% of that request plus 10% of their capital purchase requests.
So they requested a lot, is basically what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Which is fine,
Yep.
request away, yeah.
Warriors Mark Franklin Fire Company did not give me their request on time.
Okay.
So, their total request was 27,000, roughly 800, and I had to pick what to do for their equipment request. What I did was base it off of the scuba cost. We gave them enough for one last year, so I got the quote from Port Matilda about what they cost for this year, and budgeted for 2 for Warriors Mark Franklin for this coming year. So that's all those requests combined. They know next year, August 1st is their deadline. They're very well aware of it. So that is equipment request. The 45, we're going to jump from the workers' comp. The fire correction services. Yep, that's what that says. Is for Port Matilda Fire Company, our contract that renews annually, it's 0.595 mils of the assessed real estate value. And for Warriors Mark Franklin, our contract is 0.255 mils of assessed real estate value. So that's those two combined. The fire's workers' comp is estimated at 7,000 for Port Matilda Fire Company and 3,000 for Warriors Mark Franklin. That the other piece in there is the there's
7,000 for the truck
Workers'
payment.
comp,
Is that based on an actual bill that they get, or are we just making those assumptions ourselves?
the workers' comp.
Yeah.
We get an invoice, so we get,
Well, I know we do report, because otherwise the borough's gonna get stuck with it, and that's a tremendous bill for a little tiny borough.
yep,
And
and
which is why it's all divvied up, but I didn't know if we had something set up with Warriors Mark or not.
Yes, they provide us with an invoice and proof of documentation.
Okay.
And then the only other thing in there is we're paying Port Matilda Fire Company's truck payment. We've agreed to that. That's about a $7,000 cost. That is expected to end at the end of 2030.
10 more years.
Yep.
Is that their main attack engine?
Yeah, I think that's
Did they
the
replace it 3
years ago.
I
It
think?
started in, I think, 2018, 15,
Yeah, I
somewhere
think
around
so.
there. And yeah, we've agreed to that payment.
All the municipalities that are served agree to it,
I think
correct?
so, yeah.
Yes, but
Right.
we all have a different payment based off of coverage amounts.
Okay.
So, but that's our portion. Are there any questions on fire protection?
So, based on this, we got a nice chunk of money to have available for fire protection.
This
Any of
amount
this.
would have come from our general fund. And yes, the idea behind this is we want to slowly build a little bit of a balance. So when there's never going to be less than $1 million
Requests, right.
engine
Yeah.
from now on. They are incredibly expensive. And
We have
as
the
these things,
capability.
we want to be able to support our fire companies.
Okay.
We want them to show up when the
Yep.
alarm goes, and we want them to bring an engine that works.
The works, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, Andy Merritt came in and talked about his experience with that, and I just can't imagine your house being on fire and nobody there to respond.
You know, the garden hose ain't gonna make it, so.
So I don't understand how somebody rushes into a fire, but I'm grateful that people do it.
I just want to bring up something. We support, of course, the folks who support us, Port Matilda and Warriors Mark. We do not participate in the Center Region Fire Program, which is Alpha. I do know that Alpha provides great service to Port Matilda and Warriors Mark in support, and they do serve us to some degree. Not that we have to make any changes, I just wanted to throw that out there, that we do not do anything for Alpha. They get a lot of support otherwise, but they are also a keystone of ensuring that all of the fire protection in all of this area is working properly. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Don't know if
They
you
have
know.
the best of the best equipment over there.
They do. They're of course in the same situation as everybody with, they're probably gonna have to hire to
Yep.
support all those kind of things. So just wanted to throw it out there that
What do you
maybe
hear from
something in the future.
Bollesburg? Anything? In their fire department?
No.
Harris Township?
Yeah, I don't,
Bollesburg has its own
Yeah.
Harris
yeah,
Township,
yeah.
but it's Bollesburg Fire Company.
Oh, okay, I just said,
Well, obviously, we're never a member,
Well, Patton has theirs too.
Yeah.
There's one at college.
and
but Patton is a substation of
of
Alpha.
Alpha, yeah.
Bollesburg is its own
Colleges, too.
separate fire department,
Correct.
just like Port
Correct,
is.
because Harris Township does not participate in the fire program
Right.
either, yeah.
and Alpha does respond
They do.
a lot.
But our guys go there too.
True, yeah.
But if you're inferring about maybe sending some money their way for assistance, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I don't know if I am, I just feel like it's, it's one of those services that we have these invisible borders, but there aren't borders, and it's protection.
Goes, everybody
Everybody's
goes.
out there helping, so it's, it's these weird things that we have to do to allocate money to certain places, but, there are no borders, and I wish that there was a more collaborative way to do this, where we send money to one place and they use it however they need to support all the residents, but of course that doesn't exist. So like I said, I wasn't asking for any kind of action, just wanted to throw that out there as a statement.
We have that unencumbered. And if there's a surplus, we can always, at the end of the year, provide a donation if the board wants to consider that at the end of the year.
One thing that you could do, Denise, that I would appreciate is if you could see how many times Alpha was called out to assist Port and Warriors Mark out here, and kind of see how many times maybe Port and Warriors Mark were called out to assist Alpha, because I know they've all
They all
run
help
back and
each other.
forth, but if there's an imbalance, then I think we ought to take a look at making a donation.
And we do get reports actually through COG when you go to the meeting, like once a year, the Alpha Fire
But
Company
it's
will come
probably
through.
not, I mean, the fire chief could probably give us a better breakdown.
Yeah, he has the report, and it's by municipality as well,
Yep.
so he knows, so that
I
should be
have
great.
a, I have
You
a
don't have to
report
get
You
too.
have it there.
Um, yeah,
Don't- yeah.
yeah,
Don't
but
worry,
there,
follow
so
up.
I do have reports with that, and yes, I will say, they've come out a lot. And
At some point.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to do anything now, but
I
it's a
can
good
get
thing
you-
to
I
keep
can-
in
Something
mind.
to consider for
Yes.
next year.
I can
maybe.
get you that number for sure.
Yeah, that's what I think. Next year, we, like I said, we don't have to do anything, but
Since we're
just a
not
consideration.
exactly flush with cash this year.
Yeah.
either. It's nice to know, you know, where you stand with everybody.
Yeah.
so.
That's the whole budget.
You're gonna have revised numbers with the latest and greatest on it here shortly as monies come in sometime before actual budget adoption time.
Yeah, what was still outstanding? I think. Was
Just,
CNET,
th-
or-
so CNET, I mean, we can leave CNET what it is.
Oh, that's
It's, it's a nice, so I sent a message to Cindy at CNET and said, I need your number. And she said, it's not approved yet. And I said, okay, I still need it. So I assume those numbers have been approved. I don't know if that meeting's happened or not, but that's, I don't think that's gonna change. I went a little higher just in case. So that might come under. And then the only thing that might change is when the county gets its final real, like they send that out mid-September, what is this month? October? They send it out mid-October or at the end. So that's the only piece that would change, which will change revenues slightly. And I'm a fan of keeping it under.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're running on the conservative side, I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
How's our earned income tax? I don't know if Brett's still there, but
The
I think it was
earned
going
income
on.
tax is doing okay. Like, we budgeted for a lower amount, expecting that was going to come in, and our year-to-date, so we budgeted, yeah, so we budgeted for 396, or roughly 400, and we're at roughly 400. And that's as of,
nobody lost their job. That's a good thing.
that's as of 10/1, so we'll still get a little bit more. So I conservatively made it just like a 1% increase. But again, if it comes in higher, I'm great with that. But we did a very conservative, if you look, in 2020, we got 510,000. We're at 400,000. I don't know if we'll get a whole nother 110,000 in the next 3 months.
So your estimate for budgeting for this year was pretty right on.
Not bad. It
Yeah,
wasn't bad.
Not bad.
We took the 25%
Yep.
guidance from PSATs that it would be reduced.
And it was pretty much right on. Okay. So we do have a scheduled budget meeting for Tuesday, which I do not think we need.
I don't, unless anybody wants to see some major changes.
I
This,
don't need,
'cause-
unless you wanna do something else.
no, I'm just gonna do some spelling fixes.
Because we do
And-
also have a regular Board of Supervisor meeting on Thursday.
Say, yeah.
So if
Which I will not
we,
be here for, so,
oh, you're gonna be away.
yeah.
Good for
Good,
you.
you don't have to look at me, so.
Good. Well, I was wondering, since we did get through this probably quicker than we thought, absorb, see if there's any other questions, concerns, make sure anything else comes up that you might want to adjust or change. And we could potentially do that on Thursday, and then I can't remember when the other budget meetings are, when we,
The 20th and all is to be done the 14th, somewhere 20th and 21st. All of
Okay.
it's supposed to be done by the 21st.
okay.
So at the 28th, this month,
This
the
month.
meeting at the 28th, I intend to ask that we advertise the draft. So we can,
You want to move it up?
no,
Okay.
no.
We are missing one supervisor tonight, and I don't know what his opinion may be.
And that's why, so I'm okay canceling Tuesday if you guys are. And we can
Yes.
do Thursday as a quick
Regular.
refresher.
Yep.
But Thursday, we have 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Do we need the 6 o'clock
That's what's been advertised. I would keep it.
for the budget?
Yep, So I would keep the 6th so we could just do a quick, if Bob has anything that he needs
Okay.
to
Okay.
review. And then, or if you want to see any other changes, if you take time to process and you go, whoa, I think this needs to be considered.
So on Thursday, the 14th, we'll have 6 o'clock and then 7 o'clock,
Regular
Supervisors
meeting,
meeting.
yeah.
That's a long ways off, yeah, send me a reminder.
the 14th, yeah. And then we can talk about the ones after that then.
Yes, because if we're solid, we can cancel other ones and then do the 28th regular meeting where I ask for the advertisement of it.
Okay, yeah.
But-
Advertise and then, sounds good. Works for me.
I just want to say, staff is incredible and has worked so hard on this. And especially today, I appreciate the fact that everybody dropped everything to get this all out, so.
Well, it showed because we got through our entire budget in less than 2 hours. So, thanks, Amy. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Denise. Thanks to Chuck, Dave, Patty. Thanks, Ron, for coming.
Amazing, and, yeah, thank you, board
Okay.
members. This is great.
Smooth.
It helps that we discuss a lot of this during the year too.
Yeah,
and we're
it
keeping
makes
up
it
on
much
things.
easier
Yeah.
to anticipate.
Just gotta wait for the boss to say adjourn before I take
That's
off.
right. I was just gonna say, is there any other business, anything else for the good of the order? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.